With WWE set to cut back on live events and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Recalling a meeting he had with Vince McMahon and other WWE stars regarding his lackluster world title reign, The Undertaker said on his 6 Feet Under podcast, Vince McMahon pulls Stone Cold, Triple H, Kane, and me into a room. He's livid, beside himself. Something is not working. Something is not working right. We have to change some things. Steve, you're going over Taker tonight. We're switching the title back on TV. I think we did it live on TV, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a pay-per-view. I'm a little foggy. I put Steve back over, he takes the belt. I'm not sure what else changed for the other guys. One of them was the Intercontinental Champion, one may have been the US Champion. Nothing changed for them. The only thing that was changing was me dropping this title back to Steve. Vince always liked a babyface champion. I'm thinking these are guys that I respect the absolute most, and now we're in a room together and it's basically all falling on me. Dude, you're not getting it done as champ. You're dropping the strap tonight. You two, get your shit together too, or you're next. That's how it went down, and that's how I left that room. I remember Triple H coming up to me and he goes, "You didn't deserve that." You know what? I don't think I did deserve that. When it comes to Ken Shamrock making a comeback to WWE or possibly being inducted into the company's Hall of Fame, PW Insider revealed that WWE has released several Ken Shamrock t-shirts for sale, signaling that the company and Shamrock have come to terms on some sort of deal, possibly a Legends agreement. The shirts were added to the WWE shop website today. Mentioning AEW's response to controversy caused by a portion of a promo from Ric Flair, Ringside News wrote, Sting and Ric Flair appeared together for a segment during the AEW Rampage taping last week, where fans in attendance raised a hue and cry on social media for a Ric Flair promo, where he had a lot of controversial things to say. Flair invited all the women in the audience from ages 18 to 28 to meet him in his hotel room, no boyfriends or husband. This led to a lot of backlash from fans on social media, criticizing AEW for allowing Flair to say such things. Due to the backlash, Ric Flair made it clear he was willing to walk away from AEW. According to Sean Ross Sapp behind Fightful's paywall, the decision to edit out the controversial line was something that AEW was aware they were going to have to do almost instantly. Confirming that he is taking a break from pro wrestling, AEW star Satnam Singh told Sportskeeda, "We have to try to figure out the story. There are so many wrestlers over there right now. It's almost like over 300 wrestlers, so we try to put everything together. We have like 4 shows in a week. Wednesday we have Dynamite, Rampage, and then we have Saturday's Collision, ROH. So we have a lot of shows going on. So I talked to Sanjay and I talked to Jeff Jarrett and also Jay Lethal. So what's the story? What's going on?" So I think when I come back from India to here, we're going to start back on the road. Now we are taking a break. Asked about Vince McMahon no longer having a role in WWE creative, Chris Jericho said this to Chris Van Vliet. "I mean, once again, there's the reasons why he was stepping aside, and I'm not talking about that side of things. I never thought he would step down. And then I think had those other issues come up, there's no way that he would have. But also, Vince is also smart. And I bet you he was like, okay, I'm at the point now where this is not good for me to be here. So he trained and groomed Triple H for 20 years and probably felt confident enough that things are going to continue without him. And I say this all the time in AEW. I think everybody could use 6 months working for Vince McMahon, because that's when you really understand what wrestling is. The wrestling business is and how the business works. But he has that work ethic. He would always say, I don't expect you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, and that rubs off. There's a way that that the WWE works where you don't say no to anything. I mean, they asked you to do the press, you do it. They ask you to sign 1,000 action figures, you do it. Because if you don't, you know there's going to be consequences, and big ones. And I think everybody in AEW needs to understand that sometimes. During that same interview, Chris Jericho was asked if he realized the impact that his joining of AEW would have. As he responded, the short answer to that is yes, I knew the value that I had, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it. It's been well documented that my last run in WWE, even though it was super popular and super over, was still not a main event program. And in my opinion, it should have been, and it was, at least from the fan interest and the reactions and stuff. So I remember thinking I could stay in WWE for as long as I want and just be a guy here, because that's basically all that was left. I sort of felt like I did when I left WCW, where I had this great storyline with Goldberg, but I knew it was never going to get me any higher, so I had to get somewhere else, which was WWF at the time. Same thing with WWE. I could do more in WWE. I could do more than the second match on the show. So I went to New Japan and headlined the Tokyo Dome 3 years in a row. First Tokyo Dome was around the time Tony started talking about AEW, and I thought I can stay in WWE and be a guy, or I can be the guy, which I've never been in WWE. As New Japan star Kazuchika Okada will become a free agent by the end of January, Dave Meltzer said this on Wrestling Observer Radio about WWE's interest in the star. I think it's kind of like overplayed in some ways. I mean, at the same time, when I wrote about it, it's like it's true. WWE wants Okada. They wanted Okada for how many years? But they do believe that maybe there's a better chance at getting him now than before, and maybe there is. Taking to Facebook, pro wrestling legend Dutch Mantell revealed he had to be hospitalized as he wrote, "Okay guys, here's for those who've been looking for me. Let me catch everybody up. In a nutshell, I've been very sick. There are packages missing and parcels that I've misplaced, but guys, I'll make it good. Just give me time. I'm praying every day for everybody's safety. For me personally, I've been admitted to a hospital here in Lutz where I'll be for a while. I request everybody honor my family's respect to have our own private thoughts. I will respond to all of you privately, and thank you for patience. My daughter Amanda has been with me, helping me." Independent pro wrestling star Valentina Loca announced her retirement on Instagram, posting an x-ray of her neck. She wrote, "Well, time to rip off the band-aid. Never been one for dramatics, so I'll try to keep this short. My time in wrestling has come to a close. The writing on the wall has been there for a while, but today it was made definite. First picture is your girl's neck, and the next picture swiping to the side being what a normal neck for someone my age should look like. With concurrent injuries piling up, as is the nature of the beast, doctors have advised me to cease any in-ring activity in hopes of giving myself a shot at some kind of quality of life going forward. To my coaches at Black and Brave, thank you for giving me the tools to live out my dreams and see places I never thought I'd go. To my classmates and fellow workers, thank you for always pushing me to be my best, to never settle. My goals in wrestling were never terribly glamorous. I just wanted to give back to an industry who truly made my life for the better. If we've interacted once or regularly, fans or worker alike, know it was my goal to make the lives of those around me better, if only for a short while. I'll keep this page up to share memories and continue cheering on my peers. That will never change. I love you all. Thank you for supporting, and for a final time, bless up." Giving a reason as to why there is a surge of negativity in AEW, as Britt Baker's taking a shot at the company publicly. Jay White was reportedly frustrated after Full Gear, and more. Dave Meltzer pointed out on Wrestling Observer Radio, they're grossing a lot of money. It's interesting because today I've gotten so much feedback from people in and around AEW, and it's a lot of negativity right now. And I think some of that stems from the show Saturday night. Obviously was a very poor crowd. It's interesting because there's a lot of negativity while at the same time time, the company is grossing more money by far than it ever has the last couple of months. It's been very, very successful in that sense. As far as turning profit, that's a very different story. And as far as the value of the company, there's economic aspects of the company that look really good, and there's still this feeling of negativity. Understandably, in wrestling, it's always who's number one, and they are far from number one right now. They were a lot more competitive in things like television ratings and attendance and things like that 18 months ago than they are now. So it's kind of just a really interesting thing where you've got a negative perception, which usually comes when the economics are bad. But the economics are not bad right now, but they're still worrisome right now in the sense that when you look at the future and you look at the upcoming shows, you don't see shows that look like you're going to be drawing big crowds in too many places. Economically, they're doing much better than they were at that time when they were competitive with WWE in ratings and attendance, but the perception is that they're not, because the live shows attendance feed a lot of the perception and the ratings do, because they're the two numbers that people look at. Known to WWE fans as Victoria, Lisa Marie Varon said this about taking a backstage role in pro wrestling, telling Bodyslam.net, "When people say, would you go back and wrestle? I would love to be an agent, a coach. I don't have anything else to prove in wrestling. I would rather help the younger talent, character development or work the psychology of a match, that kind of stuff, like what Molly Holly does or what Gail Kim does, that kind of stuff. I don't need to be on camera." Bringing up the ratings for the most recent AEW Collision, Ringside News wrote that the latest episode of AEW Collision, which aired on December 2nd, 2023, garnered a total of 451,000 viewers, marking a notable increase from the previous week's episode, which had 317,000 viewers. This surge in viewership reflects the show's growing popularity and engagement with wrestling fans. Additionally, AEW Collision achieved a .14 rating in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic, showing an improvement from the previous week's rating of .09. These numbers demonstrate that AEW's Collision series continues to draw attention and captivate a dedicated audience. Despite facing competition from college football games, the show managed to maintain its appeal, and fans tune in to witness exciting matchups and storylines. As AEW Collision gains momentum, it remains an integral part of the wrestling landscape, offering fans thrilling content and memorable moments. Recalling his time as Max Dupri last year, LA Knight said this about getting word that he would be ditching this gimmick. As he told Metro, "My reaction was F yeah, immediately. Let's make that happen, because I don't know who or what the hell Max Dupri is." Now, look, given the time, could I have done that? Could I have made it work? I'm sure I could have. Would it have ever been anything like we're doing right now? No, because at the end of the day, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. Announcing a major appearance for their brand next year, Impact Wrestling wrote on X, "Breaking: Will Ospreay will step into a TNA ring at TNA Snake Eyes on January 14th at the Palms in Las Vegas." Talking about Triple H, Randy Orton said this on Logan Paul's podcast. "He's very smart with the business. If you have any questions with wrestling, you go to him and you're gonna get a good answer. As far as a human being, I went to his wedding. I've kind of seen him evolve. He has 3 girls and his oldest girl is just a few years older than mine, so we have that in common. I think recently for him, because he had the health scare and everything, I think he realizes how important family time is, and that's one thing that has changed. Back in the day, you were missing birthdays, you were missing anniversaries, and you were missing holidays. There was really no either way about it, and you weren't going to ask for time off. Now there's leniency there. Now he'll make sure that you can get home for the birth of your baby, or he'll make sure that you can get home for that birthday, because he understands now how important that is. I think company-wide, that's been a change for the better. During that same interview, Randy Orton said this about his commitment to WWE. "I'm like the only guy that's never left and come back other than John Cena. I'm going to be here for the rest. This is me. I'm not moving on to Hollywood. I love what I do. I just had 18 months off recovering from spinal fusion. I was kind of faced with the fact that I might not be able to do this again. It's almost like I got a second lease on my career here. I'm not going to take a day for granted. Not a second in that ring for granted. Even now, more so than the matches you would have seen a year ago when you first started a couple of years ago, I'm feeling even more in my element now." Speaking of Randy Orton, he and CM Punk ended up replacing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on the WWE website banner. Revealing that he will be out of action due to injury, Mark Andrews wrote on X, "Hey guys, over the last month or so, I've been wrestling on an injured ankle and a broken toe. Whilst those injuries were gradually improving, it seems my body had other plans, and last Sunday at Rev Pro, I suffered another injury to my right calf. As anyone in attendance will know, I wasn't able to finish the match, and I now have an MRI lined up this week to see how serious this is and how long I'll be out for. That being said, I think it's safe to say that I won't be back in the ring for the rest of the year. I've been incredibly fortunate that professional wrestling has been my main source of income since I was 18, and in that time I've had very few injuries that have forced me to take time off. Although it sucks to have to cancel on some really cool stuff I had lined up for the end of this year, I'm very grateful for everything I've been able to achieve in 2023 alongside Flash and Danny. So fingers crossed, this will only take me out for a short amount of time. Meanwhile, I'll be focusing on Attack Pro, and if anyone needs Christmas gifts for fellow wrestling fans, I've put a new t-shirt on my online store. Alongside some subculture pre-order items, come say hi if you're at Attack Pro later this month, and if not, I'll see you in 2024. On his Click This podcast, Kevin Nash said this about the changing landscape in WWE, noting why he never ended up facing CM Punk despite their feud in the promotion. It's funny now that Vince has taken a back seat in this whole thing. I see Paul, Triple H, like he owns it now. He has ownership of that company as far as when they say he's creative, his demeanor, his pacing. I mean, he is in complete control of that situation. There's never been anybody of his talent in the ring. I mean, when he was with us, we were all ruthless and we were all very driven for our success. It's such a different Paul now. I know that when I was supposed to wrestle Punk, he just got under Triple H's skin so bad. Paul just came up to me and just said, "I'm going to beat him. You're not going to wrestle him. I'm beating him." I'm like, cool. That's why me and Punk never wrestled. He said, "I got to beat this effer." Noting how a former WWE star has decided to hang up his boots, Ringside News wrote that in a stunning turn of events, former WWE Tag Team Champion Doub Basham has officially called it quits on his illustrious wrestling career. The final showdown took place at the thrilling 2023 Great Lakes Championship Wrestling Blizzard Brawl Extravaganza in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where Basham squared off against Cal Harrow. The bout marked the end of an era as Basham, renowned for his time in WWE and OVW, made the heartfelt announcement of his retirement from in-ring competition immediately following the intense showdown. Doub Basham's journey in the wrestling world began under the mentorship of the legendary Danny Davis, and he quickly rose to prominence in the glory days of Ohio Valley Wrestling. His heated rivalry with the DiMaggio preceded their partnership as the Basham Brothers, a duo that left an indelible mark on the WWE main roster. During their storied career, the Basham Brothers claimed the prestigious WWE Tag Team Championships on two memorable occasions. Following their tenure in WWE, the talented pair made noteworthy appearances in TNA, solidifying their legacy in the wrestling world. In a touching display of respect and sportsmanship, Doub Basham chose to put over Cal Hero, allowing him the honor of retiring a legend in the ring. This act of generosity exemplifies the true spirit of professional wrestling. Beyond his in-ring endeavors, Doub Basham has transitioned into a role as a trainer and coach at OVW, where he continues to shape the future of the wrestling industry alongside Al Snow. His contributions have not gone unnoticed, and he even graced the screens of wrestling fans worldwide with his appearance on Netflix's The Wrestlers show. Revealing his intention to reduce the number of WWE live events, COO of TKO Mark Shapiro said to WrestleNomics, "While there's a reason to have them because it's good for the brand, we're building an audience. We're putting them on in C and D countries, so we're really stretching the brand and we're amassing a greater array of eyeballs from all demos, so it's good for our long-term growth. Through a margin perspective, they are dilutive. So there's probably an opportunity as we go through our efficiencies and our synergy opportunities to cut back on some of those non-televised events, which will push our margin up. So we are going through that exercise now." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.